The June 2024 Nintendo Direct will probably go down in history as being one of the best Nintendo Directs ever, announcing a new Mario and Luigi RPG, a new Mario Party, a new Zelda, and finally giving us the Metroid Prime 4 trailer that we've been waiting for years. But there's one announcement that has me and the rest of the FGC losing their minds. The return of Marvel vs. Capcom. For those who don't know why this is such a big deal, Marvel vs. Capcom is one of the most beloved fighting game franchises of all time. Starting in the 90s with Capcom being granted the license to make arcade games using Marvel properties, they made X-Men Children of the Atom and Marvel Superheroes. But later on, Capcom decided, hey, why don't we just shove our characters in here and make X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and then eventually Marvel vs. Capcom. These games were great, but easily the most famous and prestigious title out of the partnership is, without a doubt, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Which has gained the reputation as one of the greatest fighting games, if not one of just the greatest games of all time. And it would be this game that the FGC would cling to and create an amazing culture around that can only be described as Marvel, baby! He's called baby Philly, baby! So that's really cool, Evangelion, but why is it such a big deal? Well, it's such a big deal because we haven't been able to legally own these games for like, what, 12 years? For you see, the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise has always been in licensing hell. In the 90s, Marvel was just trying to not go bankrupt, so they were selling their IPs to anyone who would take them. So Marvel really wasn't concerned what companies did with their IPs so long as it made them money. Fast forward to today though, and Marvel is one of the biggest companies in the world and they are owned by No. And now you have some real problems, at least when it comes to the licensing rights. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out in 2011, just when the MCU was kinda kicking off. And just a few years later, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was delisted from all digital stores. The only way to legally acquire a copy of the game was to either get the original versions on the Dreamcast and PS2, or get the physical version of the newest port that was actually just a download code? Yeah, good luck getting any of those for cheap. But, you know, whatever. Sure, we don't have the old games, but in 2017, we got a port of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and a new Marvel vs. Capcom game called Marvel vs. Capcom.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Even ignoring how Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite looked, there was still a massive problem with the game, and that was its roster. You see, during this time, Disney hadn't purchased and merged with Fox yet, and Marvel was purposefully trying to make franchises like X-Men and Fantastic Four less valuable by essentially not doing anything with them. Also that they could, in theory, buy back the film rights from Fox at a cheaper price. This led the last Marvel vs. Capcom game, MVC Infinite, lacking fan-favorite characters like Doctor Doom and the entirety of the X-Men. That means no fucking Needle! All these characters had become iconic in the franchise of Marvel vs. Capcom, and the exclusion of them was a massive upset to fans. And after all that, the game was out, and it flopped super hard, and we all came to the conclusion that Marvel vs. Capcom was dead. It was clear that the micromanaging of Marvel was limiting the creativity of Capcom, and the clear lack of budget for Infinite conveyed that they didn't have a lot of confidence in the product. Dead. Gone. This has been the sentiment for almost 7 years. But now, as if descended from the heavens, we have the Marvel vs. Capcom Collection coming later this year, with a ton of new features as well. Training modes with hitbox viewers, modern controls, save states, and online play with rollback netcode. Holy shit! I cannot wait. Please give it to me now. The two companies that we once thought were on bad terms are working together again, and if this collection sells well, the possibility of a new Marvel vs. Capcom game is much higher than it's been in a long time. I love Marvel vs. Capcom. I played the shit out of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PlayStation 2 when I was a kid. It's one of the earliest fighting game experiences I've had and holds a special place in my heart for that reason, and I'm sure a lot of the FGC feels the same way. So if you're like me and just want to experience some of these games again on modern platforms, or you haven't played games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and just want to check it out, please, for the love of God, support this game, because who knows, maybe we'll get another Marvel vs. Capcom out of it. And now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to learn how to do a fucking Infinite. See you later. I stream on Twitch, by the way. Yeah, I play fighting games and sometimes not fighting games, but usually fighting games. Yeah, Evangelion out.